I didn't really start foraging until probably sophomore year of high school. I don't normally have a goal in mind as much as I just like getting out there and seeing what I can find and identifying it and just getting to know my environment a little bit more.
I started foraging from a pretty young age. Started around when I was like 8 or 10. I forage because I think it's important to be connected to the world around us, and it's a great way to be more sustainable. You can get a lot more plants from the land and the forest around us than I think you would think at first.
There's so many different plants, so many different mushrooms. They're just everywhere, waiting to be discovered or waiting to be seen. If you're just walking, you're not gonna like truly see them unless you look for them. Understanding your environment and being within your environment makes you appreciate it more. I like eating the stuff that I forage. To know the place that you got it, the soil that you got it from, and to appreciate it for that fact. And obviously with mushrooms, you gotta be really certain on what you have. The fact of the matter is that there's mushrooms that will kill you. Like, you can eat the tiniest amount of them and you will die.
Something about mushrooms, they're all interconnected underground through this web of mycelium. So there's little white threads that will reach out underground and connect all the mushrooms to one another, and that way they can share nutrients with one another, and it can actually tap into plants' roots, and then plants can share off of that nutrients from the mushrooms.
Every single part of it seems fascinating to me. The communication under the ground and how they're creating this network between the plants, so that even though we see all of these plants and we think of them as just plants, they're not just plants. They're all connected to mycelium that connects them to other plants that helps. It's like puppeteer pushing the whole thing along.
Psychedelic mushrooms have this compound called psilocybin, and psilocybin breaks down into psilocin. If this is psilocybin, it gets dephosphorylated, so the phosphate group gets disconnected, and you're left with psilocin. And psilocin is 10 times stronger. What psilocybin and psilocin do is they affect the serotonin receptors in your prefrontal cortex. So this can affect your mood, this can affect your emotion.
It's very euphoric. At the beginning, it can be a little overwhelming, somewhat anxiety-inducing when you are coming up. For the duration, maybe 4 to 6 hours. Usually very euphoric. I tend to be very energetic. I think a lot and I talk completely nonstop.
Psilocybin causes a lot of hallucinogenic experiences. Many of these are visual. A lot of times people will say that they experienced movement in non-moving objects. One very popular experience is that they'll see a wall and it'll look like it's melting. They can also experience synesthesia, which is basically the blending of their senses. So for example, they may hear music and feel the music. There are also a lot of other symptoms that come with psilocybin. You can experience euphoria, relaxation.
I generally just find more awe in the world around me and find myself diving deeper into topics that normally might not be good for a conversation more than a couple minutes. You are in an altered state of consciousness, so you could expect your thoughts to be quite different from your normal state.
There's a lot of research that has been done in psilocybin and LSD about possible uses in a therapeutic sense. A lot of studies on the effects of psilocybin matched with therapy helping major depressive disorder, MDD. You can microdose on psilocybin, so take a very small amount, and that paired with therapy can actually completely decrease symptoms of major depressive disorder. There's been other research in patients with PTSD. If they take psilocybin, they can basically reprocess their trauma. This has been shown to help them a lot with their disorder.
I usually don't want to be inside or confined in any way. Just exploring and having my shoes off, running around, climbing trees, stuff like that. I don't think it's some magic thing that people crack it up to be, but I definitely think mushrooms in certain doses can do different things for you. You definitely become very introspective and just think a lot from a lot of different angles. And if you're prepared for it to allow you or help you to do this, then you can have some revelations about your life or about your current mental state. There's potential for you to run into uncomfortable thoughts and feelings that could lead you into bad places if you're not prepared.
One of the biggest dangers is just building a tolerance to it. If you take magic mushrooms or psilocybin multiple days in a row, you very quickly build a tolerance to it. In rare cases, there can be psychosis when there's no drug left in your system and you're still experiencing these hallucinations. There's a story recently of this pilot flying to Portland. He had taken a bunch of hallucinogenics. He didn't know if he was in reality or not. He was flying the plane, kept trying to wake himself up, pouring hot coffee on himself and doing all these things to try to wake himself up. He actually tried to crash the plane to wake himself up. He was flying a commercial flight and he got charged with 86 counts of attempted murder. He's in prison for life.
There's kind of a myth about seeing unicorns and crazy visuals that aren't founded at all in reality. You might have distortion of reality. I think you'd have to take a criminally high dose to really get to any point where bad stuff is happening. Obviously, it's different for everyone, but I've never found myself totally ungrounded or disconnected from truth and reality. There have been several occasions where I have a tangible outcome, whether I went in with the intention of having that outcome or not. Your mentality on certain things changes, your outlook on how you live your life, how you spend your time. Kids our age being on our phones all the time, or how you use your time, how you grow as a person. I've gone in before asking those questions and come out with some clarity about how much time I want to spend on screens, how much time I want to be locked into, the digital world.